it's clear. And yeah, that's one question. For example, our you can hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Yeah, like our presentation this afternoon, we will present three principal idea. It's the first, it's why we choose, for example, e-commerce, and second, how it differentiation of our product, and last, we have a short presentation of plan. It's okay, right?
You can do that. That's not what I have requested. What I have requested was just a simple introductory presentation of your idea. Again, we have 36 hours together, and you are supposed to create some draft of an idea at the beginning with not a lot of detail, because you have to make quite a lot of revisions and then go into a lot of detail on your separate
Yeah,
detailed
right.
plan.
Yeah, right.
So, right, you have just mentioned three different aspects of the plan. I didn't ask for three different aspects of the plan. I was just suggesting you guys can think about any aspects, just present something at the beginning, and you need to write it down, because you need to be able to show some of those details in your 3,000 word essay and in your 20 slides in order to get the final assessment.
Okay. Yeah, I
If you'd
understand.
like,
Because
would you like to start and give your presentation now?
yeah, I will ask my colleague, because it depends. Two people participate with me, and Linh Chương, do you hear?
Yes, Mr. Hill.
Okay, and Minh, you hear?
Yes, I can do
Okay,
it.
we just have every person 2 minutes to to present our part, and Professor, we can do it. Yeah.
Great.
Okay,
You are welcome to share some of these details.
yes, so first I'm gonna talk a little bit about the reason why we're choosing this idea. We decided to make a business plan about the e-commerce platform providing digital marketing service. So currently the digital marketing is an important and essential part of every business in the fashion industry. So with large market demand and the need for constant innovation in updating digital marketing trends, finding a quality digital marketing service provider has a lot of difficulty for the fashion business. So realizing this problem along with the growing trend of freelance work in the digital marketing industry, we decided to create a platform to connect companies, businesses, and the owners in the fashion industry with agency and individual providing digital marketing services.
Okay, it's the second I explain is the unique selling point of our e-commerce, and we know is in Vietnam we don't have a lot of like e-commerce for fashion, and have to I have discussed with the CEO of Elise, and so some CEO want to build the e-commerce or relationship with the e-commerce company, and that's why we choose e-commerce e-commerce. And what is the difference? We will provide the good service, excellent services. Like we build a call center with some people to take care of the client, and also we call frequently. For example, it's 1 month or 2 months to check it's high quality or not of our services. And last thing is different because we have a long term to refund like 1 month because in Vietnam we don't have it, and so 1 month to refund and 1 month to decide you will buy it or you will can return the item to produce to our company. And we have a time of shipping is around 2 or 3 days to deliver item to every province in Vietnam, and it's different of our company.
Yes, and the way our company is working is focused on about a fashion and shop owner. Firstly, about a local brand, and secondly, about the international brand. It can, and our customer segment is who focus on who lacking up knowledge about e-commerce and marketing online for the fashion shop owner. And basically, our activities in the company is about the build. Firstly, we build a website and administration that website. Secondly, we will create the contract with the customer, and we process the transaction with customer, process the payment method, and we use some tool marketing and the sell online and offline to attract the customer. And the most important thing is security and protect the customer information for next time for another payment methods for working with us for long times. And the last time it is the customer service, so take care for all the customer in the segmentation. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for your introduction to digital marketing. Increasingly, that's growing like crazy. That's a good idea. Again, I'm not going to talk about it too much. I want you guys to draft down some details to be able to start, and then we'll go through some details and talk about ways to consider more details. Thank you very much. We have listened to digital marketing company, a UPS company, and a Burger King company idea. I think it's time for the next presentation. I'm getting excited. I'm feeling like Mark Cuban listening to all these good ideas. Who's the next group to talk? Have we heard from the third group? Nope, and Tuan and Tuyen? Nope, Phan Kim or Tuan Pham Dai? Are you guys able to?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
It's okay. We're still discussing through Zalo about
That's good. You shouldn't be finished. Secretly, it's supposed to be a shitty idea to start with.
Yeah. Well, our previous idea right now is about establishing a multi shop with customizable everything from beginning to the end.
I just heard something that it must be a misunderstanding. I heard you're creating a nudity shop where everybody gets naked and you provide everything from beginning to the end. Wow, this is going to be such an interesting business.
No, it's a multi shop.
Beauty for being beautiful.
Milk tea. No, like milk tea.
Sorry, my mistake.
Boba tea. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Bubble tea. Okay,
it's like
great.
it's like bubble tea.
Boba tea, yeah.
Great. Sorry, my mistake.
Yeah, boba tea, but then we can customize what type of tea, what type of milk. Like, there's some people are lactose, so they have to use different milk. And then some people are like veggie, so like they can't really drink cow milk, so they have to drink like the milk from almond milk, for example.
Okay, but everybody has clothes, right? Nobody's naked or nudity.
No, I wish.
Okay, keep going. Don't allow me to interrupt you. Sorry.
And then we're gonna use TikTok as a platform to promote the business, because what we think is the boba tea business is targeting the young generation, and most of the young generations always on the phone going through TikTok. So that's the idea.
Okay.
Well, my teammate can chip in any ideas, but I don't know if they have any ideas in mind right now.
Either one of your partners wanted to add anything to it? No?
No,
Okay.
I guess not. Yeah, I guess not. We're still in the beginning.
I
We're
guess
still discussing.
We're
Yeah.
still in the beginning. That's okay. Next group I see is going to be group 5, which is Halathan, Lin Vunat, and Duong Windui. I'm sure I'm messing up your names because I know Win is usually the very last word I thought I'm supposed to say.
My name is Zung, by the way.
Zung. The
Yeah, okay.
Duong is Zung.
Duong, yes, okay.
Right. And I've been in
Thank you very
Vietnam
much.
for 6 years and I still keep messing that up. So please don't accept any mistakes from me. Push me to make sure I'm perfect with your names. Thank you very much, Zoom.
Okay, yeah, you're welcome. Miss Thương, can you make me the co-host so I can share my slide?
I think you are able to share the screen right now.
You are co-host, but you can, anybody can share at any time. Go
Okay,
ahead.
yeah. Okay. Thank you. Just spare me a few seconds. Yeah, so have you guys seen my slides?
Yes, I can. Group 5, tall skyscraper office.
Yes, thank you very much. And I represent group 5. We have 3 people, and I will mention the details of each of our teammates in the next slide. And our business idea is just a rough one. We haven't got into details yet. We decide to establish an office tower. And we try to implement 3 stages. The first one is construction, operation, and then leasing. The reason why we chose this business idea is because of the strength of our teammates. Our group have 3 people, and the first one who is Ling, she works in the real estate fields, and so am I. And also there is Ha, she works in the audit field, so she's very good in maths, in finance and accounting, and I think she can handle the P&L and also the cash flow of the project. It's like the really big and really huge project, so I think I can utilize her competencies in such kind of things. So based on the similarities between among us, we decided to conduct this project. And yeah, so the key selling point of this project is that we will build a mixed-use towers. It means we have 2 components. The first, how many floors? Like 4 or 5 floors. Like in the podium, we'll build a retail podium, and then the upper floors will be the office. The key selling point of this project is based in the concept. We try to build a building that will be smart and so comply with the green standard, the international standard. And because I think these standards are something that Vietnamese real estate developer is still missing. So we try to capture that opportunity. And the location will be based in Hanoi, especially in the CBD of Hanoi. Yeah, the reason why we choose this project, the first one is the location. Why we base in Hanoi, because Hanoi, it has good disease regulations and the high vaccination rollout rate. So it is estimated that Hanoi is now ready for the recovery, the economic recovery post-pandemics. And also there is a high demand in office leasing and also retail leasing because of the rise in SMEs, the small and medium enterprises. And so also the demand of multinational companies to establish their head offices in the capital Vietnam. And yes, as I have mentioned, there is a short supply for smart and green offices. And we just think of the major tenants that maybe generates the first profits to our project. It would be some co-working spaces like Tong, like Kogo or Hanoi Hub. These are the famous co-working spaces that already attracted a certain amount of customers in Vietnam. So we can establish some kind of partnership with them, so we can easily have the full stacking plan for our project. So that's all about our project idea, and I hope we can, based on that, to develop a more detailed one in the upcoming weeks. Thank you.
Sounds good. I definitely have a personal interest in real estate. That's my bread and butter.
Okay.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
we've heard from Office Tower, UPS, Milk Tea, Digital Marketing, Burger King, and I guess we save one of the best for last. Is that right? Lin and An and Kwan, Group 6. Have you guys presented some details yet?
Yes, can we do now?
You sure can.
Yeah, so when brainstorming our business idea, we're thinking about a little bit into the future. So we decide to go for a product that will be in much greater demand after restrictions will be loosened. So that product is beer. Currently, we are considering two options to sell either craft beer or non-alcoholic beer. And one of these will be chosen later. So after we investigate more the opportunities in this industry and customer preferences, we will decide on this. And now my teammate, An will discuss about the name that we choose for the product.
So about the name, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So drinking alcohol has been a culture for Vietnamese people for a long time, and it is said that the battle is the beginning of the story, and the cup of wine or beer is the beginning of the fun. This cultural feature is evidence for the potential consumption of beer industry in Vietnam. So we're choosing the name Zo, like it's a very famous term in Vietnam when you start having wine and beer with your friends. So we always say that like 1, 2, 3 Zo. So we will think that it will be a really familiar terms it will be an opportunity for us to have our brand recognition better, to choose this familiar term for Vietnamese people. And based on the occasion, when beer appears in the youth users sharing on social networks, so we're aiming this kind of beer for like people from around 25 to 50.
25 to 50?
25, yeah, 25 to 50.
Oh, okay. Not so much youth if you're still including people old like me, but okay. Good.
Because I like young people in Vietnam nowadays are like preferring to hanging out in pub or bars. So I think beer would be a great opportunity for us to develop, because beer is like the second most consumption in Vietnam, like the alcohol consumption in Vietnam is in the second place. So we're choosing this kind of product.
Okay.
And now my teammate will talk more about our idea and our resource that we have. Quan, can you help me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, yes. Our project is just the idea, so I think we have a lot of work to do. First, we have to research about the product and the process to produce the craft beer. And the second is we have to some analysis about the competitor and the market segment. In Vietnam, we have the two dominant beverage company is Habeco and Sabeco. Each mean the Hanoi Beverage Company and the Saigon Beverage Company. and they are the listed company in the stock exchange. So we can collect the data from the stock securities market. So we can peer analysis and make some simulations based on their data. So I think. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Keep going.
Yes, and I think we have a lot of work to do because the process to make beers is kind of difficult for us.
Okay, it can be difficult. Great. I like the idea of working with beer companies. Maybe we can get free samples. But okay.
Yes.
If there's anything else any of you guys would like to start talking about before you get into the details, I would like you guys to definitely make a note, write down your generalized details now. Try to write as much details as you can. Probably keep that as homework because your final report requires you to show your original idea and then many changes. And then you have to show the final idea, not only with a lot of details, but it broken down by time, by process, by customer, by many different ways. So I would like to go back to.
Sorry, I have a question.
Sure.
Yes. I see you require us to diversify our capital budgeting.
No, I didn't. I'm not sure what you're talking about as far as requiring capital budgeting. What
I
is
see you require the bank loan funding.
let me show the details. I'll show that on my screen right now. So the requirements, as you can see, are in the file that is called the BMG 709 Project Development and Operations Assignment Brief. That is in the folder of many materials. Everyone should be able to take a copy of that, or Tuong can take a link to that and share that in the Zoom now and take a copy of it. But you need to develop the realistic, comprehensive, credible written plan, period. It needs to have a lot of research references to support your ideas. Number two, then you need to have detailed financial projections for 3 years. And that needs to include not just for the 36-month period and general financials, but you need to talk about the financials you need for loans or from an external bank funding. That's generally the focus, but then we talk about you should be in a group and you need to have 3,000 words, you need to have 20 slides, and then you need to evaluate every single person here, including all other team members. Does that answer your question? It doesn't say capital budgeting or those details. That's up to you. The more you have, the more details you have, usually the easier it is to get funding. I know that I'm going to show you some typical business plans now, but to answer your question, usually there's a lot of research showing that the people that have invested their time and energy the most to try to think about and write down the details of their plan, whoever has that most investment in time and energy usually is more successful. But since you're only allowed to have 3,000 words in your document and 20 slides, how can you do that? How can you manage? The simple solution is you have a big folder, an online Google folder we can share with each other. And inside your folder, you can have millions of pages of details. You can have 100,000 PPT slides, but you need to summarize it into the final presentation. So when you're giving the presentation, you can, for example, say you have this market report by Gartner of 2021, period. And you don't need to say any more. That's the details. But right beside your file, you show here is the file, and it's 50 pages long. But that doesn't need to be in your report. So with your capital budgeting, if you have a report from Accenture or Goldman Sachs or any financial details, the more you have, the better. But try to consolidate it down into just 20 slides and 3,000 words. Does that answer your question and clarify details?
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
Yes, we can choose various funding source, such as equity or bond or bank loan.
Well, we
Yes.
are going to talk a lot about that. If you're super lucky and you have lots of friends, yeah, you can choose from anybody. But the reality is sometimes it's very hard to get any funding. Sometimes it's hard to get any loans. I know you guys are probably Vietnamese and you may have a higher chance of getting a bank loan in Vietnam than me, non-Vietnamese. For example, when I was buying my property in Vietnam, I'd go to the bank and see if I could get a loan or a mortgage. And they would say, if I want to borrow 100 of anything, I have to show 180 is in my bank account, which means I generally don't need a loan. So most foreigners can't easily or won't want an easily to get a loan to start with. So they need to have other financing options. You were saying you can choose anything. Well, usually there may not be much of a choice. It depends on how attractive your business is, how much you can attract investment. Some banks might not loan to you at all. That's what I'm talking about. Does that make sense? So before we get into alternatives, let's talk about that. What is an alternative? If a bank is not going to give you a loan, what could anybody do? We have a couple of financial experts here. Maybe we want to hear from them first and then talk about, there's the digital marketing people. They might have other ideas. So how could you get a loan for your business? Which one is the banking experts? No banking experts here yet now? Anybody? If you're not going to be able to just get a loan from a bank, or even if you know how to get a loan from a bank, what are those details? What does the bank look for?
I think they look for the ability to pay back the loan.
Great. And so to provide more clarification, either you have a very high-paying job that is stable and you've had that for a long time, or as I said with non-Vietnamese people, they say that you need that security. You need the cash. You need to have not just the amount of money in the bank that you want to borrow, but you need 180% of the money you want to borrow in the bank to start with some places.
Yeah, I can explain a little bit because I'm not banker, but I provide financial services.
Great.
Okay, and so yeah, we care about the client first. It's with a clear CV.
Okay.
Yeah, and second, we care about how many money you will do the transaction, because we provide international transaction, and that's why we care about the amount of transaction every year. Okay, and yeah, last thing we care about also the partner. The partner also it should have a clear CV also, and so yeah, it's the three things we care about it.
Okay, good.
I think the loan has a two types, unsecured loan and the secure loan. If you borrow unsecured loan, you have a strong profile, the high credit quality profile. And if you borrow a secure loan, the problem is what is your collateral and what is the value of your collateral, and you don't have 100% or 150% of the loan you borrow. You can base on the loan to value ratio. For example, if you need to 10 billion dollars to buy a house, and your loan is based on loan to value is 70%, and you just only have 3 billion dollars, and you can borrow 7 billion dollars to buy a house.
That's good that we have this information. I hope every single one of you has recorded and written down what they said, because almost everybody should have that in your 3,000 words, right? You need to know what are some possible ways to get financing. The more you write that down, the better your ability to show. However, before we finish, I would like to test Hugh and Lin and Min. You are part of the group 2 talking about digital stuff. So I want to ask you guys, how can we get money? And I'm saying this knowing that we've finished talking with the bankers, we finished talking with the financial loan experts. Now I'm trying to ask just the online guys, how can we get money? Anybody know, anybody want to comment about what I'm talking about? Guess what I'm talking about?
Can you please repeat that?
Sure. Obviously, everyone knows that money is available. One more time. Money is available from banks, yes, and loan companies, yes, and financing companies, yes. Sometimes you have to show you have good transactions. Sometimes you have to show you have lots of assets or cash. Now I'm finished talking about that, and I'm still talking about how to get money, but I want to talk about how you can get money online. So I'm asking the digital marketing group, do you know how can you get money online, not from a bank? Anybody, every single one of you, you may want to know about this.
Peer-to-peer lending.
Peer-to-peer lending. Okay, good. Could you explain a little bit more about that? Does that mean I see Three Dong Boom right next to An Min? Is he your peer next to you? Do you mean he's going to lend you money? Or are you talking about something different online?
I have read it from a newspaper. I don't remember it correctly, but I guess it's like a platform that connecting those who want to set up a loans and those who want to lend others. But it's kind of risky because in the article that I have read, a lot of peer-to-peer lending platform in China have fallen down because of uncertainties. It's one of the options. I think it needs more assurance in terms of these kind of capital raising options.
Okay, good. Yeah. Thank you for starting to get us to think about that. That whole idea of online individual persons getting money individually from other people, it is key. Sometimes it could be risky, but there's a lot more to talk about there. Anybody else know what I'm trying to get you guys to think about? Because there's many options.
I think peer-to-peer lending is most suitable for consuming demands. Not suitable for borrow for a business because interest rate is very high. It's in Vietnam is maybe more than 40% per year. Very high. And
Okay.
it's suitable for consumer demand. Another source is funding from issue bonds or borrow from financial company. The financial company requires less document than banks.
Okay. What about crowdfunding? Anybody know what I mean by crowdfunding?
Yes.
Can you help explain what is crowdfunding? Kickstarter is an example. What is Kickstarter? What is crowdfunding? There are hundreds
I
of
think
different.
that they like a Patreon. It's like they posted a product online and they say, okay, if you put the money in, you will get that product as soon as possible, plus the cheaper than the retail price. Right?
Perhaps, yes, there are many that are like that. Absolutely. So if I help explain that a little bit more, all of us should be aware of the app Facebook, or now called Meta, right? We have our group class page in a Facebook page. Well, exactly just like Facebook, there are social media apps where you can go and just share your idea, and anybody in the world can see your idea, and you can get a lot of people that will just loan you money. They think that's a cool idea. And so some people will just give you money and it's free. Other people, you can say if you loan money, they can have part ownership of the business. Other people say, if you give money, we will give you one of the products. And so you can get money almost for nothing. And then, of course, that in addition to the crowdfunding, what it means is you get funding, you get money from the crowd online. That's what they're talking about. Make sure you're aware of those details. The next idea, in addition to Kickstarter, is our class. What is our class? What are we doing? Why are we doing it? Why are you making a business plan? You're making a business plan, and that business plan has a lot of value. Some people worry that when I make my business plan and I show it to these assessors, they may steal my idea. And hopefully that's not going to happen, but it could happen, right? When you have a good idea, who do you usually show your business plan to? That whole idea, angel investors, right? VCs, venture capitalists. I know several that are investing a crazy amount of money just because you have a good business plan. I have seen some MBA students in the MBA class, they created a business idea, and within 6 months, that student was a millionaire. He went from a poor student to developing a class project. After the class finished, he developed it a little bit more, and he pitched his business plan to real investors after he got them to sign an agreement that they can't steal the idea, the non-disclosure agreement. And they paid not just $1 million to him, but they paid many millions of dollars to start his franchise, something like Burger King, throughout not just one city, but many cities. And he just had to manage the plan. He wasn't actually working in the franchise. He was still managing the idea, including getting other directors and managers to manage his business. So don't forget, think big. With this entrepreneurship, almost everybody thinks about one thing in front of you, but you forget of the other alternatives. My definition, if I go back and start identifying what we're talking about now, I've already talked to you about the crowdfunding, Kickstarter, investor funding, business plans, angel investors. We've talked about that, but I go into this is our project. We're talking about overall project developments. We've gone through, we've shown you guys what is required from you, what you need to be able to hand in. You guys have started to share the initial ideas of your investments. Now let's just define what we're talking about, a project development or new business startups or entrepreneurship. Project defined, it's talking about, it's an endeavor with a beginning and an end. It's not really saying very much. Sometimes, typically, it's a new business or a startup, but with breakdowns in our case. If I go beyond this, entrepreneurship and what we are in many ways focused on is finding solutions to what other people only see as problems. So many people around the world, they'll have a problem. I don't have this product, or I can't get this product related to UPS, and an entrepreneur finds that UPS company. Or I want a new type of hamburger or a new type of lunch, and the Burger King couple is finding a solution for that. So entrepreneurs are finding solutions to other people's problems. When we're talking about money, do not just think of one way. Do not just think of anything in one way as an entrepreneur. Try to keep stretching your mind, trying to think of other things all the time. You've got the definition here, but there's millions of definitions for this stuff. In addition to borrowing from a bank or a loan company or a loan shark, somebody even in a bar might loan you money, or a neighbor or family. You could also have peer-to-peer, as we were talking about, and crowdfunding sources. Kickstarter is super famous. You can take a look at that. Costs you nothing. Just share part of your idea and people will start loaning money if it is a good idea. And then there's the angel investors and the venture capitalists that might give you money. There's lots of different ways. So characteristics of a project. Some people say it's a means just to bring about change. Some people say it's a solution for a certain issue. Some people say there's a definite beginning and an end. Overall, the research is generally talking about it should be a smart project. It should be a smart goal. It should be a smart thing that you're focused on doing. What I mean by smart is S for specific, M for measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. All of your goals should be recognized like this. And then the idea of more characteristics of it. Some people say high risk, and I put high risk in brackets. I see this in many entrepreneurship textbooks that are written by other peers of mine. There are other professors that might be at the same university as me. And so many people think of them, the writers of those textbooks, as geniuses and specialists in entrepreneurship, but I think these guys are idiots. I think these guys are foolish because I am an entrepreneur. I would say I am, in some ways, a serial entrepreneur. I continue to make many different businesses, and I hate risk. I don't usually do things that have high risk. So I would say entrepreneurship is not high risk. Entrepreneurship is lowering the risk to the alternative. Anybody want to try to understand what I'm talking about? Why would I say entrepreneurs are lower risk than anybody that likes high risk? Let me describe two different people. One person is working for Samsung Electronics, and let's say Samsung is paying him maybe $200,000 a year. He's got lots of cash, plus Samsung gives him a credit card to buy, company-related expenses things, and they pay for his car, they might pay for his phone. So he's got a lot of extra cash. He travels the world for work. He goes to a casino and he gambles on the casino table because he sees that it's high risk but high reward, and he likes this high reward. Another person, a different person, hates that idea of gambling on a casino table, and they had a job for Samsung, but they quit that job for Samsung because they saw Samsung jobs were too high risk. They couldn't tell when the company was going to go bankrupt. They couldn't tell when the company was going to lay off staff. They couldn't tell what my bonus was going to be that year. And so that individual person started their own business because they thought it was less risk. I would say that second person is an entrepreneur and likes to reduce risk. What do you guys think? Is an entrepreneur high risk or low risk for you? What about Quan Pham? What do you think?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
The idea of high risk or low risk. I gave two different examples. Maybe another person. An Min, did you hear the example that we were talking about? What would you say is high risk in your mind?
In my opinion, to be an entrepreneur is quite very high risk because it's like the gambler. Because if the person who don't have any experience to first step into the entrepreneur business, they're lacking of the knowledge to investment, which one the financial to balances, and which one to be developed, which one to decrease, and it will lacking of the unbalances and everything, and it will bankrupt anytime. But anyway, it's depend on the size of the business. And in my experience, if you do the business is quite in the average of big or the bigger with another person, the percentage of bankrupt is quite high because the internal discussion and sharing about the benefits. And if you're doing the business by all alone, it's very hard, and you need more about the money and the financial to develop it.
Okay, everything you just said, I thought is very interesting. I hope everybody maybe wrote some notes about what they just said, because I believe an entrepreneur should take every single one of those words and analyze them until there is no risk left. Some people are saying entrepreneurship is high risk. Let's go back to the reality. This is the government report, and the government report, Canadian government, you can't really mess with the numbers very much. And you can see it's 120 pages. What it is saying here is that people that have a business plan, written details, they're basically 90% likely to be successful for at least 5 years. In my mind, I have a very good job. I'm working for a university, but I don't think my job here has a 90% chance of being perfectly safe for 5 years. Why? Because I've done research. A lot of people would think being a teacher, being a professor at a university, a famous university, oh, that's great. Well, yes, some people may think that, but if you do more research, did you also know that in Korea, they have been closing more than 130 schools every month for the last 2 years? So a regular school that's up and operating, 130 of them closed forever every month. So it's more than 3,000 schools have closed just recently. And so, yes, some people may think of a certain job, working for Samsung, working for Vincom might be safe. But if you see how with the economic booms and economic recessions, that company could lay you off. If you don't have enough students, or if Vincom doesn't have enough customers, that company could take your job away. And they may just put you on a holiday for a while, or they may not give you bonuses for a while. That, to me, if you can't control it long-term, is more dangerous than if you create your own company and you analyze the risk of almost everything. And so you see the risk of your long-term job in a bank, and you see the risk of your job that you control, and is there anybody that knows what is the date you have to start your own new business? Who's the
I think I heard somebody said the best bet is to start your own business at 35.
Okay, great. So there's a recommendation, but again, being an entrepreneur, you need to be very careful with the details. And so we're starting with generalizations, and we have 36 hours to go through details and learn the details. So I'm starting now. We've just heard a couple of people say entrepreneurs are high risk. Okay, fine. Many people say that. I think it's true that many people say that. And I've heard somebody just say it may be best to start your own business before you're 35. I think I just heard there is some Burger King people talking about comparing yourself to KFC. Anybody know how old was the founder of KFC when he started?
More than 60, right?
Yeah, he was like a grandfather, a great grandfather, but now he's like mega rich because he just started thinking about it later when it was almost time to retire. Most people work for a company and they assume, they think they're going to have stability for a long time. Well, I'm here to tell you that is a joke. That has changed. Maybe your grandparents have stability or your parents had stability, but in 2021, 2022, that is very quickly disappearing. I work with many company CEOs and I hear it from them. For example, SAP in Asia manages, just like Oracle, they manage the information of many different companies, and executives of those companies that know the information, they are worried about how so many people are going to be changing. One reason, for example, the move online. And another reason is the move to have artificial intelligence and machine learning and robot kiosks. Like at a restaurant, you don't have people taking money at the front at the teller anymore. You're starting to have just those robot kiosks. So much is changing now, and things are developing so fast that companies have to change. Otherwise, they are going to disappear. For example, one of the most successful companies in the world when I was growing up was the Kodak company. That company thought they had the best idea, but they went bankrupt because they thought digital cameras were a joke. The old-fashioned cameras had better lenses, better photographs, better things you can touch, but still the new technology made them go bankrupt. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the idea of details. You start talking about entrepreneurship with generalizations. Many people say that starting a new business usually fails. I challenge you to show me those facts. And I'm not saying find somebody else that says it. I'm saying show me the facts. I showed you the Canadian government records. This is based on government tax returns and tax reports and audits. You can't easily cheat this information. And it shows most people that have a business plan and register their business survive more than 5 years, which is safer than working for some other company. Who here has a job that you are guaranteed to continue to have your job after 5 years? Anybody? Quan Pham, Tuan Pham, Wen Lam, do you think your job, whatever company you work for, is guaranteed to continue to give you a paycheck in 5 years?
No. My company is a startup, so I don't know.
Okay, if you're working for somebody else, you still have that risk. Your boss could wake up in the morning one day, if you are not the owner of it, if it's not your business, you're relying on somebody else. And that other person, if they wake up in the morning and they have a bad day, they could fire you on that day. And that could be for the Vincom group or the Samsung group or almost any company in the world. Some companies, it's a little more technical. You have to follow regulations to fire somebody. But if it's your own business, you control those details. And you can control the idea that there is economic good times, there are economic bad times, and there's still going to be about 8 billion people in the world. You can create a business for somebody or something that you think should never change. And so you control your own safety. And in my personal opinion, I think entrepreneurship is lowering the risk at the same time as finding solutions for other people's problems. However, we could argue that for a long time. I'm just trying to get you to think about whatever is the generalization, whatever is the general detail, you need to look at what's the other view and why. Why do people say that? Any questions about that? Do you guys think I'm crazy? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes.
Curious about the table.
You're curious about what table? This table here?
The probability. Yes, this table.
Okay.
It is the probability of survival after 1 year.
After 5 years.
5 years.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know.
Which is a very long time.
How long the startup pass through the burn out money phase.
The whole idea of your startup money is the same thing as everything else. You need to plan it. When you're working for a company, the company may have money to pay your salary today. Maybe my university has money to pay my salary today or this year, but maybe next year they don't have the money to pay it. So the university's money may burn out, or maybe Vincom's money for your company or your branch, or Samsung's money for your branch may burn up. It depends on case by case, right? So what's the difference between a big company burning through their money or a small company that you control the details?
Because I think that if the startup have 7 years to burn their money, so the 5 years survival is very normal. Yeah.
I don't.
So I think I need more information about the average time to burn out the money.
Well, this page, this file is 121 pages. You can read it if you want. And I can many, many more papers and files and textbooks talking about this if you want. But in general, I have read through a lot of details, and everything is the law of averages, right? It depends on the big picture. Don't just generalize and don't just trust somebody else without knowing the details. I think another definition of entrepreneurship is, actually, let's get back to it. What is my definition of entrepreneurship? We're going to come back to this. We're going to talk about projects. Here, my definition, can you see this on the screen? The person that was talking about you're burning up the money. Can you read this page? What does this say right here? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, clear.
So the idea of a business plan, same thing, the idea of an entrepreneurial business. If you have answers to 150 reasonable questions about a business, you probably know more about that business than anybody else. Does anybody want to argue with me? Let me simplify it. You're working for Vincom. You have a job, and we're talking about your survival in this Vincom job for 5 years. So ask me one question, super easy. Ask me 10 questions, easy. Asking me 20 serious, reasonable questions about your future working for Vincom, it starts to get harder. Asking 150 good, serious, reasonable questions about your safety working for Vincom for another 5 years, that's really hard to do. And then finding good answers to those is also pretty hard to do. If you can do that about anything and you're happy with the results, do it, because you probably know more than almost anybody else in the world. So there is less risk. If you're working for Vincom, you could be fired tomorrow. You could be fired next year. You don't really know. But if it's your business, you can control for that. For example, Burger King company, guys. Hopefully you have already written down your draft. Let's start trying to make it better now. When you make a Burger King company, usually people may think that it's popular for lunches and dinners, right? Let's just assume that's right. So you have to pay rent for this building for Burger King 24 hours a day for a month, which means maybe from lunchtime to 10 p.m. or midnight, you're busy. But early in the morning from 5 o'clock to 12 o'clock, you have a location that's not busy. And since you said you're supposed to teach people about the burger culture, the American culture, the international culture, is it possible that you use your Burger King location and those tables and those chairs to teach about American culture in the morning? So not only do you have burger money coming in the afternoon, but you have English money coming in, and you have culture money coming in. And maybe you take people on tours from Ho Chi Minh to go over, I don't know, where was Burger King invented? Let's pretend New York. Maybe you take people on a tour to New York to see the ultimate original burger. All of that could be done in the morning time. So you get extra money coming in. So there's extra safety. Now do you see what I'm talking about? If it's your business, you can control that. Eventually, your business should be so busy, so focused on your burgers, that's all you focus on. But when you start, day one, today, let's pretend you're working for Vincom. Vincom is paying you your salary, but you're thinking about Burger King, fine. Keep working for Vincom from early in the morning till night, and then on your break time or your 2-hour lunch, talk to your friends about how you can make your business plan. And continue to make your business plan until you realize it's better to do that than continue with Vincom. So I'm getting excited. I need to, whoa, calm down. I've been doing this for so many years. So the idea that the sooner you can answer these details, the sooner you should start your business. And there is no law, you have to start your business today. If you already got fired and you have no other alternative, yeah, then you have no choice. But if you do have a choice, it's up to you when you start. You do not have to start at 35. You do not have to start anytime. You keep planning your business until you feel it's safer to start your new business than to continue what you've been doing at Vincom or anywhere else you work. Sorry, I shouldn't use Vincom words. It's just an example. Hatanli, can you hear me okay? Ms. Hatanli? I wish I could click on somebody. What about Long Win? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, very clear, because what happened, that's what happened to me 5 years ago.
Great. Could you try to help me make sure I'm not too crazy, because I started talking really fast and I have got a very strange background. So could you summarize what you think I just said?
Just like you said, working for yourself with a very careful planning, it's much safer than working for somebody else. and you must plan and think until you're ready and you start.
Right. The alternative is you don't care. The alternative is you just relax and walk through life not caring, and you make some other business owner care. Usually a business, it could take, maybe you're lucky and your business will be successful after like 3 months of hard work. Sometimes it may take a year or 2 years or 3 years of very hard work of just you doing everything every day. But then after that, the best businesses, the best business plans should be a plan that you don't work. The best business plans are you make a system that will work well, and then you can sit back and continue to benefit from that like a stock investor, just they giving you the cash profits, you being the owner, and you can start another new business system. So everyone here, you have to make a business plan. Great. And the United Kingdom assessors, they're going to inspect it. That's a requirement. But I'm telling you from my personal experience, the best business plans are a business plan that does not require you to keep working there every day. For example, Mr. Burger King, maybe you like cooking hamburgers. Maybe you like talking to people in a restaurant. Great, but don't plan for you to do it. Plan for your business plan to hire a different cook and a different business manager for that franchise, so that you can plan to make another one and then another one. And so regardless of how many customers come in, you can keep pushing your manager to do better work, and you can continue to help if you need it, but you should use your energy to develop other opportunities. Does that make sense? Am I getting too excited?
Yeah, I think it's very exciting because it differs between the uncontrollable and yeah, we can control it also.
I've heard from bankers. Usually bankers are very low risk people. They hate risk. Usually, not all the time, but a lot of time they really have risk management. I heard, I think 2 or 3 people are working with finance or banking. Whoever you are, can you tell the class, are you comfortable talking to the class about maybe not you, but whoever has the desk close to you, that other person in your office? What percent safety do they have to continue to have a job in 5 years from now? Any idea? You can't say 100%. You're guaranteed this guy's going to work there for 100 years. That's possible. Or you could say, I think that guy's going to get fired next week. That means 100%, he's dead. What do you think is the average? Any ideas? No comment? You don't want to make anybody look bad? Overall, I think it's something serious you should be thinking about. So before we get more into the business plan, what you can put into it, what are the basic questions? Let's go back and just make sure we understand what is a project. So we've started to talk about the characteristics of a project. I haven't heard from Dong for a while. Dong, would you like to talk more about a project and what we have here?
Yes, Professor. So for me, this picture is very special and interesting. So it's kind of like I understand the project could be. So as you can see in the picture here, the first round is the how the project information can go through. So it starts from the customer, how the customer explain it, and it goes through different departments of the organization, as you can see here. So the project leader of the organization can understand it differently, and also the analyst design is also different. You can see the way they describe it by the picture of the trees here. And on the bottom row here, you can see this is kind of like the operational process. Like after getting the information go through from the customer to the different departments of the organization, and the organization should start its operation to implement the project that meets the customer's need, what they explained at the beginning there. So it starts from the information and go through the organization, and it could finish the project that that could deliver and meet the customer needs. So as you can see that the project can be gone through the many different views and process, right?
Yes, so again, some of the key ideas is the details and the view. You know something in general to start with. But when you start talking about a business, what you know, it's not important, right? What you know is second place important. Definitely what's first is what the customer cares about. So the customer wants this, and maybe they have another worker that describes and makes a project. The project leader makes it and says, okay, you need to tie this to a branch, you need to tie this to a branch, and you have a swing. So one guy ties this to a branch, and he ties another one to a branch, but he ties it so that you can't swing, you can just sit there and it's stable. Maybe the customer didn't talk about how he wants to swing back and forth. Then the next idea of an analyst. An analyst is saying, well, maybe the branch will break. And so you don't want to have this branch problem. You need to have some other support to hold the branch up. So you're making support for the branch for safety. And then you make it's leaning against the tree. So to fix it against the tree, if you want to move it, you cut the tree away. So an analyst can take the exact same idea that was in your head and understand it in a different way. So you have your idea for a business plan. Develop that idea for your head. But as much as possible, think about what is the view of the customer. That's most important. Then what's the view of a staff you have? What's the view of another staff? What's the view of a programmer if you need a website? What's the view of a business consultant? Maybe the business consultant sees he doesn't want just a regular swing. He wants a very comfortable swing with great sunshine and things like that. And don't forget, many people, when they are starting a business, they come up, and I have seen this so many times. I started when I came to Asia in 1990s, there were almost no other non-Koreans in Korea. And as I said, I got homesick really fast because there was almost no English and almost no people around where I was working. I worked for the government, no people. I worked for Samsung, and there's almost no other foreigners. I worked for Daewoo and many companies, almost no other non-Koreans. And so at that time, people usually preferred to work for Samsung or the big jobs. Entrepreneurial activities was almost impossible. Now it's becoming possible, and the people that are starting a new business, they're just going home, drinking soju, drinking whiskey, talking to a friend saying, oh, my boss might fire me tomorrow. What am I going to do? What's my future? Blah, blah, blah. And the friend says, here's a good idea. And so he takes all the money in his bank account and he says, okay, tomorrow, let's start. He just does it. I saw that. I started a restaurant. I started a bar. I was the owner, but I had a written business plan. After I started, the first couple of months was super hard. People wouldn't even talk to me. They were afraid to go talk to a white guy. But eventually, my bar was one of the top bars in the country. And so other people tried to do competition with me. Right across the street, I was not that rich. Somebody else invested more than $1 million to make a small bar. And that's crazy. That's a lot of money. He invested that and he started his business and closed his business within 10 days. He thought he was going to get lots of customers like I had, but he didn't realize that I needed many months of planning and marketing and promotions. He thought that he just spends more money to attract people on the street, and he closed $1 million. So what's the bottom line? Write details down. Make your project plan. Check your project. A lot of people, this bottom left image, the project was not written down. Many people don't write it down. You must. Next, the idea of operations installed. If you want to swing from a tree, this will swing from a tree. Or what the customer was billed for, many people, if it's not your money, they're going to have to pay crazy amounts of money. So there's a lot of different views of details. Try to go beyond just your view to understand details. Be able to.
I think every single project that the organization wants to do and develop their business plan. So even they could be, the innovator in the field, but they also need to base on the customer. Even the customer haven't had any, the demand yet, but they need to understand the customer, what they want at the moment, or even what the customer want in the future. So based on the consumer, the consumer, so they can, develop the projects that exactly meet the customer need, right?
Absolutely. So that's what the whole point of this is, to show one person's view may not match other people's view. You may have a good business plan today now, but it's only you. Did you check? Did you check? Many customers agree they will pay you for that business. Did you check that there's not a lot of competitors? One more time. Did you check the competition? Did you check the environmental reports, the competitive reports, the market analysis, the financial analysis? You need to check all of those details. A lot of people think, I don't have competitors. But in my experience, almost everything has competitors. So plan wisely.
So that's how I think you talk about your company and also the competitors. So I guess the competitor didn't really understand the customer as you did. So that's why that company didn't survive as your company.
Right. So the whole idea is make sure you plan. Make sure you have all of the specifications for your plan. Try to have, again, 150 reasonable questions and answers. That's a pretty detailed analysis of everything. I will show you later what are some key questions, like the first 15 questions you have to have. And almost anything after that is almost luxury. But the more you are confident that you have more information than somebody else, and as long as you've checked with the others, go ahead and start your business. Make sure you plan for your launch of the product to implement the new product, services, or processes. The idea of your project success, you need to plan how you're going to not just make your product, but how you're going to implement it, how you're going to evaluate it. A big part of your homework is you need to come up with a plan and then evaluate it, but you need to evaluate it more than most entrepreneurs. You need to evaluate it and show how you've changed it. I have been teaching entrepreneurship for many years, and almost no other course asks you to show how you're changing your details, how you're revising your details. Most people just want to see the final result. So the fact that you need to start making changes also is very important. Again, this is the results that the UK assessors want, but there's only 3.2 things. a few questions related to how to develop the specifications, a few questions related to launching that, a few questions related to the timelines and the processes, a few questions related to how you're actually going to implement it. As long as you have these are the basics, but plan for almost everything if you can. What is the failure? Of course, the failure number one for our course is this. If you don't have good answers, you have to do it again. Start sharing your answers as soon as you can. Start filling this out now, and in class during breaks, quiz each other. Does this pass in your opinion? Otherwise, if you did not develop project specifications, if you do not have implementation details, if you do not plan for the proper launch of your product, service, or process, or another big thing that this university is focused on is, did you evaluate it already? Did you start analyzing these details already? So I have been, again, teaching this for many years at a few different universities. And I could tell you and show you, here's what one textbook says, here's what another textbook says. But my summary of all of the textbooks and my experience is this. A business plan answers 100 to 150 reasonable questions. The sooner you can answer these and stay happy, the sooner you should start your business. So know your details that others do not. Entrepreneurship is finding solutions to other people's problems. You have to practice finding solutions to something you don't know or something other people don't know. Try to be creative. There is no law that says you have to start by 35 years old. It's your choice. KFC, Colonel Sanders, he started in, when he's older than me. So write it down, discuss it, test it. Some people say, well, if I discuss it, if I share it with too many people, somebody's going to steal your idea. Maybe. I have had that problem. I thought, oh, I don't want somebody else to steal my idea. And I had a client that was willing to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. I could have got crazy amounts of profit, but I thought the negotiated terms were not so good. So I kept waiting and I kept waiting. And I lost the opportunity. They went with somebody else. So there is no rule. You need to decide on your own, but the more you have, the better. So think of it as a game. Start with the basics. Write down how you're going to do it. What is the who's going to do it? What's going to do it? Where, when, why? These are the 4 P's in your SWOT analysis. This is the basics of any business course. Start with those. And then if you have somebody you trust, start going through it. Here's my idea. What do you think I'm missing? Check. Can you catch my mistake? I'll buy you a beer. I'll buy you your Tiger beer or your LaRue or whatever beer you want to talk about if you find a problem with my business plan or if you can find a way to make it better. That's, I think, a really good idea. Look for feedback in class. Review your details. Write it down, wait a day, come back and check when you have a fresh mind. What did you miss? It's a story of what the business is and will be in the future, not just now. Of course, you need to have lots of the research, lots of the financials, lots of the marketing plans, of course. You need to start with the facts. Why am I focused on some of this? Let's go back to some of my notes. I'm not sure if you guys can see this. I'm going to zoom in a little bit.
Yes,
I wrote this down when you guys were talking. I don't want to show any of the companies, but many of you were just saying there's a good opportunity there. I want to make this plan because the economy is growing or online details are growing. Be very careful of generalizations and the market needs, the market ideas. If you just say, because many people are moving online, I'm going to be successful, or if you just say, because many people like international food, I'm going to be successful, that's not good enough. You can't generalize. You have to know the specifics and have facts to support it. So next, you say the target market is huge. Well, there's also 8 billion people in the world that can compete with you, and nobody has to stay in Vietnam. You are now competing with me in Canada. You're competing with somebody in Switzerland or Swahili land or Argentina. Everybody's online. You're competing with anybody. So just because you think that there's not much competition there now, think about how hard it is for somebody, even from the other side of the world, to come and start competing with you. Your target market generalization can be huge, and you can get lost when you're competing with many competitors. Sometimes, if you are not focused enough, and if you don't have really solid, reliable references, you're going to have problems. Get specifics. Our class is just for fun. It's just 20 slides. But if you're going to do it in real life, there's more than just 20 slides. I'll help you with that if you want to go beyond the class. And I've done it myself several times. So beware of generalizations. That, for example, some people say the final customer is kids. Well, is it Canadian kids or Vietnamese kids? Is it handicapped kids or not? I'm from Canada. I'm an international management professor. I realize that one of my biggest dangers when I go back to Canada is I'm not allowed to say, all right, guys, let's start the class. Why? Why can't I say, come on, guys, let's start? Because that's sexist. I have to be politically correct. Some people call it the DI or the EDI. I have to be aware of equity and diversity and inclusivity. I can't forget people that are handicapped or with diseases and stuff. So you have to be very, very specific. Kids is way too general. Are you talking about black kids or white kids or yellow kids or banana kids or fat kids or skinny kids or whatever, right? They're all different. Even the idea of crowdfunding, it sounded like a lot of you thought you can just get money from banks. I almost never really try to get money from banks. There are different ways to do it. And I've bought several houses. Admin. I don't think it's you, but there's at least 2 people in your group that are supposed to be real estate experts. Do you know which ones those are? Who are the experts in your group that are real estate?
I remember group 5.
Whoever it is, admin, I'm going to ask you a question related to real estate. Yeah. Do you think it's possible to buy a house and get paid for it? It's a simple question, but most people don't understand it.
To buy a house is everybody can, but how to pay it is we have to plan it very detailed to how to pay it, and how's the income and financial. We have to prepare it and how long we can pay it. If we don't have money, we have something to trade it, to deposit it.
Okay. Do you think it's possible to buy a house and get paid to buy it?
Yes, can.
So how much money did I spend?
That is depend on the kind of department you're going to buy.
I have bought houses before and spent $0. No money from my bank, no money from my wallet was used. And yet I became the owner and other people paid me at the same time. Most people think that's impossible. Maybe I can argue with the bankers next class, but I would say 99% of the world think that's not the way it works. For you to buy a house, you have to pay cash or at least credit. Well, no, that's not true. I've done it a couple of times and I didn't need cash. So just keep your mind open, and I invite you, please argue with me. Please ask questions. Please try to challenge any general statement. The more you think creatively, the better. Collect ideas, challenge people, track your ideas, and follow up with them. If somebody says that's bullshit or that's crazy, ask him why. Why does he think it's crazy? Maybe he's an expert in it and he tried and failed 100 times. So why are you different? So track those ideas and follow up. A business plan is a way to track the big picture. It's not just your idea. Your idea is not that important, right? Whose idea is more important? The customer. If the customer is not going to pay, that's the most important thing. A lot of people, for example, if I challenge you to tell me what is the most important language in the world, anybody want to guess what it is? What about Hatan Lee? Can you guess what is the most important language in the world? I'm probably going to ask 3, 4, or 5 of you. And I'm pretty sure most of you would get it wrong.
Yes.
What is the most important language in the world?
So I think it can be Chinese.
Good guess.
Or English.
That's good guess. That's 2 guesses. That's kind of cheating, but good. What about Lin Win? What do you think? It's not Chinese and it's not English. Now it's getting harder. What do you think, Lin Win, is the most important language in the world? Or Lin Chuang, if you're there, or Gam, anybody, just shout out an answer.
I think the language is just a language the customer and everybody in the communication can understand together. So that's the most important language.
That's cheating. You're my TA. You heard me teaching this stuff for a long time. That's cheating. You're not supposed to be telling the answers. But yes, absolutely. The most important language is not of a country. The most important language is the language of your customer, period. Make sure you realize that what's in your mind is not that important. In the real world, whatever you're planning to do, you should be a little bit nervous. But the more confidence you have, the better your business development grows. And there's small little things. For example, we are going to have presentations, and let's say Quan Pham, when he gives his presentation in the last day, maybe Quan Pham really wants to start his business. Maybe he really wants to be an entrepreneur. Let's pretend that. And so he's nervous. On the 36th hour, you have to present it. He might be shaking. Maybe his papers aren't very good, but you should pretend to be very confident, be very smooth. How can you do that? If you are nervous, can you change being nervous to confident? Actually, yes. There are ways to change it. For example, you guys can see me now, right? Let me turn this off so you can see me. So usually, if your body language is sitting like this, like Quang Pham right now, he's sitting kind of like this, and Long Win, especially Mr. Long Win, you are going like this. That is the perfect body style that is protecting your head, it's protecting your neck, it's relaxing you. At the same time, your arms are in front of your heart and your liver, and you're protecting yourself. If a lion or a dinosaur comes and attacks you, you're protected. And so if you are like this, I don't know if it's because of the dinosaur age, but your brain creates a hormone chemical that makes you more afraid, and it increases your fight or flight senses. It makes you afraid doing this. It makes you quiet also. 3D, I think it's Zoom. Is that right, Miss Zoom? I'm kind of looking at you a little bit. You're going back closer to Wang Ren. What do you think is the body style that you should have a few minutes? Oh, you're doing the opposite. You shouldn't do that. I'll just tell you the answer. You should be doing like this. Everybody knows an Olympic athlete or somebody that wins in sports. After they win, their hands are up in the air, their feet are usually spread apart, That idea of your body being spread out, you're not protecting your neck, you're not protecting your heart, you're so open, your brain registers that, and your hormones create more hormones that make you excited and makes you happier. So before you have any important interviews or investment meetings or business plan presentations, just do this for like 2 or 3 minutes on your own, and your brain will make you happier. It will make you more confident. And those two factors there will help your presentation more than the alternative. Why? Because usually when you're crossing your legs, crossing your arms, protecting your body makes you a little bit more relaxed, but more depressed and a little bit more fearful than going like this. The first second you do this, you feel stupid and strange. But after you do it for 2 or 3 minutes, you have more confidence and happiness, and that can help business plans. So let's go back to the main point now. Confidence is king when you're giving your final presentation. Just remember that. And then if you're going to focus on 100 to 150 reasonable questions, what are the first 15? So the biggest thing is this: you know details, others do not. The other people don't care what you know. You need to write it down and discuss it with others to test your idea. You know what your product is. You know what your service is. Other people don't. Can you guys see me again? That's an example. Chung Yu Win. This looks like a bottle of water, right? Let's pretend I want to make a bottled water company and I want to sell this. And I've been planning this for 10 years to make my own company. What do you think is the possibility that in many years planning your business, I've started to think of how much lead is inside, how much zinc, how much copper? Do you think that I studied that, right? That makes sense?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Now, if I am an expert in how much copper or zinc or minerals are in here, and then I go to a business meeting and I start talking to Juan Pham or An Min and all the rest of you, I start talking to you about this is the best in the world. It has the lowest amount of copper and lowest amount of zinc in the world. And we just stop there. Part of my sales process is finished. It's gone. Juan Pham, An Min, did you hear anything that relates to water? No. So many people get excited about your business and you will talk about what's important in your mind, but that is not important. Only thing that's important is what's in the customer's mind. Start with the basics. Start with that idea of what exactly is your product. And it doesn't matter in your mind. It's talking about the customer's mind. And then the next big question is, why should they use yours when they have probably been using something else, other competitors? Why should somebody use your product and not competitors? Who specifically will use it if you realize that that other person that's going to buy it has probably been buying it for some other company for 10 years? Why are they going to stop buying it from another company and start using you? How are you going to create a competitive advantage? There's many types of competitive advantages we'll talk about. How will you operate your business? What are the different options for that? And we're talking about the limited liability corporation or partnership or sole proprietorship. There's many different ways to do that. How much will you charge? Of course, and then there's the finances. In the first 1, 2, 3 years, what is your expected sales? Even though you never started business before, you must guesstimate, know the details of the future, and write down what you expect for sales and profit and assets, your startup costs. How will you do the marketing? There's so much information there. How are you going to get staff? Knowing that usually it's very hard to get staff. Sometimes you may need to hire 10, 20, 50 people, and they're all possibly going to be idiots before you get one really good staff that helps you matching your style. How are you going to train them? How are you going to grow your business? What are your contacts? Are you going to continue to use a small personal email address, or are you going to make a company email address that makes you look more professional? All of those details. So we've been covering some of the basics, the idea of the main points to include. Make sure to include your contacts. Make sure to include your exact product or services. Don't assume others know. Make sure you talk about your competitive advantage. Make sure you talk about, of course, the benefits for investors. It seems to me that Sunderland University assessors specifically asked you about funding, so they might want to invest in you. So what can you tell them? What are the benefits if maybe some guy from England wants to offer you an investment? Next, show you have the market analysis, the support, your references. Why am I talking about references with credibility, or promote yourself, or network, or guangxi? Obviously, when you say a fact and you just say it, some people will think it's either your information or it's true or it's not true. If you say you got it from somebody else, that sounds better. If you say you got it from somebody else that's famous and respectable, the top of the world, that makes you sound better. But at the same time, when you're promoting that other guy may be happy if he hears about you promoting them, and he might promote you also. So building up your network is important. One more time. It's important. Of course, what are the 4 Ps? You guys have already studied marketing, I assume. Anybody want to tell me what are the 4 Ps?
It means place.
Good, that's one.
Place.
Yes.
Product.
Yes.
Promotion.
Yes.
And
price.
Already price. Yes.
We already said that. We're missing one.
Price.
I think you already said that. It's small
Place.
things. Product. You forgot product. Product, place, price, and promotion. Yes. So you already know those details. So make sure you talk about those. The SWOT analysis. What does the SWOT stand for? I'm sure you guys know those also. Anybody want to shout out what is the S, W, and O, and T?
It's a strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat.
Great. I have been teaching this to several graduate students and MBAs for many years. Several people make a mistake and they only write down one strength, and then they go on to talk about one weakness, one opportunity, one threat. That's a big mistake. The biggest part of it is you write down what is your strength and then how you're going to leverage it. What are you going to do about it? And your weakness, write down what are you going to do to manage that weakness. Same thing, opportunity and threats. And number 2, don't just write down one. Try to write down many strengths, many weaknesses, many opportunities, many threats, and talk about how you're going to manage all of those. Some people say you have to fix all of your weaknesses so that you're balanced with your strengths and weaknesses. The research does not show clearly that is true. Other people say, forget your weaknesses. There's 8 billion people in the world. Just focus on what you're the best at, what are your strengths, and continue to use all of your time, use all of your energy to promote your strengths, and don't worry so much about your weaknesses. Maybe you can hire somebody to help with those weaknesses. That's your choice. And of course, the financials. Of course, the income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement, not just for 2 years, but for our purposes, 3 years, you need to talk about. Then we get into these numbers. There's the formulas. Some people are saying for a general manufactured product, the average is with sales being 100%, costs of goods sold. If you're making, for example, a hamburger, your costs of goods sold may be 80%. Your sales cost could be another 7.5%. That's the average. And then your general and administration, 5%. Interest expense, if you're borrowing money, 2.5%. Tax, 1.5%. Net income, 3.5%. That's just an average. So investors that are good, they probably know those formulas. Check to make sure your numbers are within the industry standard if you can. And then don't ramble on. I talk too much. You should try to stick to the point. Don't ramble on. Don't go blah, blah, blah. Don't have long speeches about your dog and your neighbor's nice new house or car. Promote your business. Get to the point. And before hour 36, get as much feedback as you can. Say your idea and ask everybody else, what do they think of your idea? Talking about crazy things is not really going to help you. So some people say it's important to identify what the judge cares about. Does the judge care about your entrepreneurial spirit or your market opportunities, your innovativeness, your operations, how you're going to manage the actual business? Are you going to create many new jobs? Is it going to be able to grow? Is it viable? Is it environmentally sustainable? It depends on the judge. Each judge is different. I have done this, and some people care most about profit. Other people, for example, I've done this for Seoul City Hall for many years, and they like the idea of making many new jobs. And they like the idea of getting foreigners to be successful in Seoul to make it more international. So each judge is different. You already know the judge that we're working at wants to focus on these things. Learning objective 1, learning objective 2, 3, 4. So make sure you go through those. We have been talking for about 50 minutes now. Before I go through and show you, judges might look at this, or judges might look at this, or judges might look at this. I want to take a short break and allow you guys to talk more. So far, I'm doing too much talking. I want you guys to argue with me. I want you guys to tell me, I don't care about restaurants. I only want to talk about making banks, or what is your specific interest? How can I work with somebody in China when I'm in Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh? How can you work online? So there's a lot of different details we can talk about. For example, this. Does anybody know what this slide is showing here? We are talking about operations, we're talking about management, but what is this? How many of you know this?
If you are freelancer, you work by yourself and you follow some short project. Yeah.
Okay, that's one part of it. Has anybody
You can
else
hire people
Yes.
online to you can outsource the work. You can hire people online. You don't have to sign contract with them to save the cost. Or you can
outsource the work, right?
Yes.
And so I have many different websites here. Here's 15 good freelance websites to find work, not just for you, but maybe you can list your company. Some of you said that you want to be a digital marketer or you want to be a financial consultant. You can advertise your marketing service here, or your product here, your services here, and get customers here. Generally, it costs nothing. So what this says, the best websites, Fiverr, Top Total, Upwork, Freelance, there's several, and you can look into each. I have taken these and written them down. The world is increasingly looking at these a lot. Why haven't you guys asked me questions about that? Why are you just listening to me babble on about boring things? And do you care really what a judge says? You know, I want you guys to argue with you. I want you guys to ask me serious, hard questions and ask each other. Start sharing more details. The more you share your information and your thoughts, the better. So I said I was going to stop, and 3 minutes went by and I kept talking. So any questions before we take a 10-minute break or something like that?
No, sir.
Okay.
You can have 15
Actually, it's
minutes
not.
break.
I didn't talk for an hour. I talked for an hour and a half, right? Sorry, I talked for almost 2 hours nonstop. Damn. You guys let me talk way too much. The idea is you are supposed to focus for 45 minutes and then have a break. Otherwise, the brain can absorb more. So, yes. How long would you like to have for a break?
I discussed with students, so I think the people, all the people prefer to have 2-hour lessons and then break.
We should have 45-minute sessions and then breaks. Basically, every hour, 10 or 15-minute break is usually what research says is good. I like to keep talking anyway. So when we have a break like now, I might get up and walk around for 2 minutes, but then I'll sit back down again and you guys can keep asking me questions. But you can go have a nap for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. 10 minutes is what you guys like?
Yes.
Okay. So at about 5 minutes after, we'll come back and we'll continue talking. Again, I might take a short break, but I'll be here. If anybody wants to ask me questions, you can ask any questions at any time. Thanks, guys. Okay, so the feasibility analysis, it tests generally 3 main areas: the product or service feasibility, the market industry feasibility, and the financial ability. A strategic analysis, slightly different. It's looking at the micro versus macro. The whole idea, everybody knows the SWOT analysis. You also can understand the micro features versus Porter's 5 forces. Porter's 5 forces is more academic details. There's a lot of publications and research that I can show you. There's a lot of textbook that I can show you. A pestle analysis, for example, similarly, it's based off of a lot of research. And I am one of those researchers. All professors are supposed to be researchers. And so Porter is super famous. What makes him famous is a lot of people read his stuff and reference him. This is what he's talking about. The 5 forces that create competition. The threat of new entrants, the bargaining power of buyers, the threat of substitute products, the bargaining power of suppliers, and your rivalry among existing competitors. So these are the 5 industry forces. You need to always check those details. So there's a lot of research talking about it. He's also gone a little bit farther, and he's applied that to what is the profitability for each industry. And they say the average industry return on invested capital is about 15%. This is a few years old now, but this type of investment, return on invested capital, it's a good guide. You can understand some industries are more profitable than others. The other thing that I was talking about here, for example, pestle, that's talking about another type of the analysis related to the, for example, economic analysis or the social, technological, the legal, the environmental. There's political. There's many different things you can look at, but all of this, again, in my opinion, comes back to, where is it here? This 1W and the who, what, where, when, why. As long as you're looking at who, what, where, when, why, who are you competing with? How are you competing with? Why are you competing with it? All of that is the same thing as what this is very famous for. Who are you competing with? You're competing with new entrants. You're competing with the buyers. You're competing with other substitutes. So as long as you are asking reasonable questions, it doesn't matter what famous people in the world say, except if you're trying to get money, if you're trying to get investors, if you just say that you are going through and you're doing the who, what, where, this stuff here, if you're just doing the who, what, where, when, why, investors might not be very impressed. if you do go through and say, Harvard Business School, very famous professor Michael Porter, world famous for the 5 forces that shape industry competition, the 5 forces of competitive advantage, and then you start talking about the exact same thing, investors are more impressed. It sounds like you know more, but it's the exact same thing. So please understand, just research your fields, understand your details. That's the idea of the analysis. The idea of the pestle analysis, as I said, check what's going on with the political environment, check what's going on with the economic environment, the social environment, the legal, the environmental, the technological environment. Basically check what's going on around you. So let's talk about that for a little while. What is happening now that will definitely influence or impact a lot of businesses? Anybody want to volunteer some ideas, or you want me to start listing out a few?
The COVID-19.
COVID-19, absolutely. So why should you care? How does that change your business?
They had to apply the first social system. This in my area for the restaurant industry, you have to follow various rule and regulations. You cannot sell alcoholic after at the restaurant.
Good. What we're talking about now is very a good example. What the question was is like, how does that impact you? And the answer was you have to follow rules and regulations, but in his mind, he understands it. But in an investor's mind, an investor is going to think, well, everybody has to follow rules and regulations. So his answer is not saying anything. The more specific you are, the better. With your business plan, you start general, but as much as possible, you have to get very, very specific. So you can't just say follow rules and regulations because of coronavirus, because you always follow rules and regulations. So what, again, has changed with coronavirus? You can't have customers in your restaurant. That's one. You have to start either delivering or just working online. That is one example. You can start manufacturing food at a different place and sending it to other people, like the UPS type company. That is growing like crazy. Food businesses are shrinking. What else is changing? What's changing in the world?
Is the import and export material for your company.
How has that changed from a year ago or 5 years ago? How has importing and exporting really changed?
Like you had a chance to join some FDA free trade agreement in the group of like ASEAN, you got a chance to reduce your taxes of export or importing your own products, which will affect your costs and your price of the products.
Okay, yeah, 5 years, 10 years ago, there was huge amounts of taxes on foreign cars. Now, it wasn't really because of coronavirus, but just because of life going on, the import-export taxes were generally going down, right? Actually, some people say the opposite. Because Chrysler and GM are going increasingly bankrupt, they're getting more and more in danger, United States is increasing some of the taxes and considering doing quotas on some of those things to protect their national GM and Ford companies. So the rules of usually taxes go down. It's all controlled by the political in some sense. So as long as you're aware of that, yeah, great. Good aspect. Any other aspects? What else has changed recently?
Things that about technology. Because nowadays every people due to COVID-19, beside the environment, the technology is also impacting in the environmental aspect. Like everybody go online now, the way they changing the behavior of purchasing product, and something like if 5 years ago, people tend to go to directly to buy the product in the store. Now the people tend to stay at home and go to online searching and find a suitable product for them and make the shipment. That is very convenient for them, and gradually it's changing the behavior of the customer for purchasing products.
Okay, good. Everything is generally changing. The more you know what is going around you, the better. So the idea of PESTLE is just a general analysis. You're starting general details: political, economic, social, technological, environmental, legal. You have to know all of those. But it goes back to the same thing that we were talking about. That whole idea of 150 reasonable questions: who, what, where, when, why, and more. All of the basic details. There is no one textbook that is perfect. You have to know your business better than most other people, and you will never know everything. It's just try to know enough so that you feel you know sufficient to start, knowing more than average. Try to control the risks until you realize that it's better to do your business rather than to not do your business. So doing your business, in my opinion, is less risky. It's safer to do it than to not do it. Some people were arguing it's better to stay as an employee. Well, that's your choice. If you think that is safe, go ahead. I know for a fact I have a much different life because I have started my own business. And most people, as the Canadian government has shown, they are successful as long as they have a good plan. If somebody has failed, did they have a good plan before they started? Did they actually register the company and have written details that would satisfy a bank, for example? So check those details out. It's not just the overall what's going on with the politics, overall what's going on with the economics. Try to find out how it impacts your company, how you can compare with other security brokers or soft drink companies or pharmaceuticals. We heard somebody in our group is a pharmacist. What is the usual profitability for pharmaceuticals? Maybe in Vietnam, it's very different than in North America, or it's different this year rather than last year. You need to know those things. Obviously, coronavirus and biopharmaceuticals, some of them are getting very, very important. Do you also realize that Vietnam has some of the cheapest, lowest priced medicines in the world? And a lot of pharmacies are giving out these products very, very easily, which you cannot do in North America or Europe. So that is possibly a huge opportunity. However, there are other restrictions. That idea of the legal environment. Maybe Europe might say you're not allowed to sell those in Europe. But if you're creative, I'm not telling you to do anything illegal, but I will tell you that, for example, when I owned a bar, when I started the bar, I realized nobody knows of this foreigner. Nobody has marketing history with this foreign bar. So at the beginning, I'm not going to have any customers. So I need to do something else to get additional income because I'm not going to be busy every night. So I started language classes and culture classes, and I actually had dance classes. I had a chef from Mexico that would teach Spanish dancing when we didn't have enough customers to make the kitchen busy. So that's one aspect of it. You can protect yourself and know more about it. We were not allowed to sell English. You have to be registered as a school. But I was registered as a bar or a restaurant. So technically that was illegal. So we didn't sell English classes. We had the menu that just said, this Coca-Cola was a special Coca-Cola and it was $20. If you pay the $20, our chef would come and sit down with you and talk about the Coca-Cola for an hour. And so it's not a language class, it's just the chef's special beverage service. Same thing with the pharmaceutical. You're not supposed to send insulin or diabetic drugs from Vietnam to other countries, but Maybe if it's a gift or something, you could. I don't know. That's up to you. It's just something that you need to think about. So a SWOT analysis, how do you conduct it? Everybody knows there's the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Everybody knows you need to do a situation analysis. But many people make the mistake. They only find one weakness and then that's it. Or one strength, that's it. You must check whatever your weakness is, what are you going to do about it? Whatever your strength is that the most important? Should you forget about your weakness and just focus on the strength? I can't tell you. That's your choice. But you need to think about it, and don't just think of one, think about many. So there's lots of things. The strengths, the characteristics of the business which give it its advantages over competitors. Weaknesses, the characteristics which have a disadvantage. Threats, of course, there's many. But don't just, again, focus on one, focus on many. So how to conduct it? I assume most of you have already taken some business classes before. Is the SWOT analysis new to anyone here? Like, Vong, have you studied SWOT analysis before? Vong and Nguyen Lam and Tan Pham, have you guys studied SWOT analysis before?
Yeah, we did.
Yes.
Okay. So yes. Is there anybody that wants me to review these details, or you want me to just skip on to the next part? You guys are the boss, right? You pay my salary. So if you think I'm doing something work too slow or too basic, tell me, let's skip to a more advanced level. I have hundreds of files. If you think this is new, we can go over it again. But I've heard 2 or 3 people say you've already studied it. I'm going to start skipping over some of this stuff.
Yes, you can skip.
Great. So the idea, tips and exercise, it's not just for the SWOT analysis, but for everything. You need to analyze everything. It says you need to be analytical, but be very, very specific. The idea of record all of your thoughts and ideas. Yes, make sure you write it down. The more you write it down, the more serious you are, the more you're invested in it. Not financially, but by taking your time and energy to write it, you are more invested than somebody that's sitting on the toilet thinking about it. The more you are invested in it, even mentally, the more likely you are to be successful than somebody that's not as invested in it. So writing it down definitely helps. Obviously, choosing the right people, super, super important. And again, what are 5 websites where you can find other people to help you? I showed you earlier the online outsourcing websites. Can anybody help me remember what are several websites where you can hire people online?
Fiverr.
Fiverr is one, yes.
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is another, good, perfect.
It's Robert Walter.
Robert Water.
Okay, I didn't really hear what it is, but it sounded like an answer. I'll say that's number 3. Good. Keep going. What's number 4?
Vietnam Work.
Vietnam Work. Okay, that's not in the list, but yes, these are top international places where you can hire people and you can get jobs. Some of them are focused on maybe web development. Some of them are focused on accounting. Some of them are focused on writing. Some of them focus on everything. I'm not telling you to be aware of any one of them. I'm telling you to be aware of the idea of them. You have to be aware that these are growing super fast. They're super important. Why should you care? Because now that coronavirus has changed the world, everybody knows that most people know you can work online. So companies, for the last 100 years, a company will make a building and hire people in that neighborhood to come and work in my building. But now all of a sudden, these people need to be working from outside, and you see that many of those guys are doing the same job outside as they did inside your building. And so you're also seeing that the price of people doing that job in your city is different than in a different city and very different in a different country. Anybody know what is the most expensive country on average? What is the highest average pay or GDP per capita? Where is it most expensive to hire people? Anybody know which country?
It's Norway.
Norway is definitely expensive. Yes. Any other guesses?
London.
London, England. Okay, actually, it's not that expensive in London, England compared to other places, but living costs are expensive. Yes. What about the cheapest? How do you find that information? You see, I have Google here. What should I search for to find the cheapest or most expensive workers?
We said
Top
living
10 country.
living cost.
Okay, GDP per capita. Oops. Nominal is usually the best thing to look at. So if you check this, it's not the best. It's not really good. This is just the average of all of the rich people and the poor people, everybody combined. So you have people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, which are crazy rich, and they're being treated the same as me, and I'm not a Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. I wish, but I'm not. So it's better if you could find a place that has more accurate details, because this is not accurate at all. If you had the median income, that's much more reflective of how much more people make. So anyway, let's go over here and see this. Somebody said Norway. Norway is number 8. Good. But the Cayman Islands, Ireland, Switzerland, Bermuda, these are generally more expensive. Monaco, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, those people are getting like $190,000 per year on average. What is at the bottom of the list what I'm not showing? Or do you guys, before we go to the bottom of the list, where is Vietnam? What is the average income in Vietnam? If you have to hire somebody, what do you need to pay?
3,500 maybe.
I send a link.
Good, very close guess. This says 3,759. Yes, very good guess. Other estimates say 2,700 or 2,786. Yes, but you're very close. So what is the country where you can hire the cheapest people?
It's Bangladesh.
Bangladesh?
Yes.
Any other guesses? Bangladesh is still $2,100 per year. What's cheaper? What's a new person guessing? I think one person guessed twice now. What's another person guessing? Anybody want to guess what are some other cheaper countries?
East Timor.
East Timor is here, yes, 1,200. But some countries like Burundi, they're making $265 for a whole year of work. You could hire somebody there to work for you, and it only costs $265. Right. What's the problem? Maybe people in Burundi don't speak English. Any idea what countries they do speak English or other people speaking Vietnamese? Like Nepal here, they speak English. It's almost like a national language, English. And the average there, again, is $1,200 a year. You could hire somebody, and there are accountants, there are web designers, there are programmers in Nepal you could work with. At the same time, your services, you are increasingly competing with, although you are at 140, every country above you was happy before the coronavirus problem, but now all of these workers are now competing with you. So it should be pretty easy for you to get customers from here to hire you. Please make sure you have a global mind, especially the people that do the marketing, the digital marketing, or the online services, or the delivery services, especially if it's international. Start thinking big. Usually with entrepreneurship, a lot of people think, oh, I just want a small little business. It usually pays to try to think big. So let's go back to that. We were thinking about several different things here. Tips. McDonald's SWOT analysis. There's more information talking about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats related to McDonald's, but you're already aware of that, it sounds. Since you've already studied SWOT analysis for quite a long time, maybe we can skip this, but rather than spend 15 minutes on it, why don't you guys in your groups start to quickly write down some SWOT analysis features for your group, 2 or 3 minutes. If you have a group of 3 people, what is it?
Excuse me, so I can create the room, the breakout room, so you can choose the number of the room you can go into. So you know the room you are in, right? For the students? Is that okay?
We just assign people. We'll assign group 1 students go to room 1. Group 2 students go to group 2. Okay?
Yes. So now you can pick the room number you're in. So let's go into, for example, you can choose the number 1.
You didn't do it. You only made 1 room. Oh no, sorry. Yes. So who's in group 1? Can you guys tell me?
Me.
I don't.
Queen.
Okay.
So basically I open 6 rooms, so you know the group you are in. So the people in the group 1, please go into room 1, and the people in group 2, please go into room 2.
Are you sure that they don't have to be assigned first? I thought they have to be assigned. Can you assign yourself?
Yes, they know the group they are in already.
My question is, can somebody join a room on their own? I thought the managers, the hosts, have to assign them.
We can actually click join.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Please go into join by yourself.
Great. So let's do this for half of the time. So 7 minutes, let's do this. Work in your group, develop some of your SWOT analysis details, and I'll rotate going through it. So far, we only have 1 person that's joined the room. 2 people have joined the room.
I'm sorry, but I couldn't follow what would be my group.
So your group is here. What is explained? Try to follow and join this room. Can you all see this stuff? Can you see this now?
Yeah.
Tuong, can you help assign the remaining people to rooms, please?
Yes, I'm doing right now.
Thanks. So again, what is a business plan? This is a summary of several different textbooks. Generally, it's a document that explains the business idea and how it's going to be carried out. That's obvious, the story of what the business is and will be. Yes. All costs. It's a marketing plan. Great. Description of financing, estimation of earnings. Why do you need it? It saves time, money, key to raising capital, serves as an operations guide, but I'd like to add a few things. A business plan is a simple act of changing an idea into a reality, just writing anything down. It doesn't mean it's true, doesn't mean it will be successful, but if you have it on paper, it exists. That idea of writing makes it more serious and more significant than just an idea. And the facts show, Canadian research shows, international research shows, the more serious you are by writing it down, the more successful you will be. The other thing is, other people can't easily play with your ideas. If you write it down, you can show it to a friend and make sure you know that your idea is a problem. Only you know it. Only you like it. You have to test other people like it. For example, with the beer, that whole idea, I initially thought, old beer with some flavoring was terrible. I thought it was garbage. In my mind, it was bad, but the customers loved it better than other beer, better than the most expensive beer. So check what other people think. Next, if we're going on, what are the components? Of course, you need a cover page, executive summary, mission, vision, culture, company description, opportunity analysis, research, marketing strategy plan. There's several things you need. I think the idea of mission, vision, and culture, it's not that important too much to carry, in my opinion, the mission and vision isn't too much, but the culture, the idea of staffing. You have to have other people working with you. Maybe you have a lot of other people working under you or to run the whole business. You need to understand what is your culture, your style of work, and do you need to have somebody else to balance you, to fill you in? For example, when I had a business, I had to hire somebody else that had the personality that I did not have. Things like that. Next, the idea of the simple cover page. Of course, legal name of the organization, a logo, contact information, date, non-disclosure information, all of that stuff's good. When you guys are presenting, I highly suggest you remember this is being recorded. It is going on YouTube. Try to promote yourself. You may not want to have this video promoted a lot. We can restrict it, but you're probably going to want to eventually show it someday to somebody. So don't just put your name and a student number. That doesn't help you that much. Make sure you have contacts, and a LinkedIn contact is much more professional than anything else. Also, the idea of a non-disclosure agreement is good. If you think somebody might steal your idea, simply have an agreement that somebody else can sign, promising they're not going to steal your idea for the next 12 months or 24 or 36 months, something like that. Executive summary. Of course, the business definition, target market, key marketing strategy, goals, ownership, financing requests, use of funds, exit strategy. All of this is definitely needed for the UK assessors. Make sure you're developing that. This mission statement, vision, some people say it's important, some people don't. I think that idea of culture, the idea of the environment, including the risk tolerance, the innovation, the orientation with respect to people, teams, outcomes. Why do I think this is so important? For example, I had a business and my personality is an introvert. I usually don't talk too much. I don't socialize too much with a lot of other people. So if I have a bar, I need somebody that loves to socialize. I had to hire or partner with that type of person so he can socialize with anybody around. That type of know your culture and what's good about it and bad about it. Company description. Of course, the background, your track record. Some of you already have a company that started. Okay, be careful if you have a company started that the UK assessors are going to think you are a new project that you're developing. Opportunity analysis, that's huge. Of course, the research, the testing ideas. You have an idea. You need to show it's not just a joke. It's not just your brain fart. It's something serious. You have analyzed the industry, analyzed the environment. And I'm not just talking about, the green environment. I'm talking about the competitive environment, the political environment, the pestle environment. Check the proof of market, check the target market, competitive analysis, all of these details. Survey other people, survey potential customers. That stuff is very important. The idea of the marketing strategy in the plan. Everybody should be aware, as we said earlier, the 4 P's: products, pricing, the promotion, place, or as I say, product, price, place, promotion. It's the same thing. All of this combined is the who, what, where, when, why. Just try to think of everything and plan for it. Promotional plans. Lots of things are changing here. We have some social media marketing geniuses that are going to be helping. Hopefully we'll talk a lot about that. Almost everybody is living online. Almost everybody is aware of social media. Did you realize that Donald Trump and Cambridge Analytica and their association with Facebook, that you can catch every potential voter's interests and make fake marketing to make them believe something so you can make people do what you want to do? That has been proven. And it's so true that Facebook had to pay a $5 billion fine because of it. So make sure you're aware. When you're marketing, as we saw, some viral videos could make you go very, very successful, maybe for free. There are ways to manage that. Internet and social media, it's king. TV is expensive. Market where your customer is, not just where you like. For example, luxury products, usually at airport lounges or golf courses or special hotels. You might not want to just advertise in other places where you don't have a lot of luxury customers. Consider the competition with business schools. You may be able to walk in to a marketing class, say you are a company, and you can provide some prize if the students can come up with good ideas. That usually always works very well. Even if the students create terrible ideas, they are creating ideas on Facebook or TikTok or YouTube. That is extra free marketing, and you just need to give one prize to one student while you have the whole class helping. So think big like that. And when we're talking about thinking big, the idea of management and operations, the world is changing really fast. A lot of people thought we had jobs for life. That is quickly disappearing. Your management team, your employees, many times companies are starting to say, we're just hiring people for one project now. We're just hiring people to get something done. Maybe you can specialize in that one thing and start providing it. List your services in any of these websites at the same time as you have a job. And after it grows, then you can quit your full-time job and develop this more. Please make sure you're aware of those details. Tomorrow, what we're going to be talking a lot about is when you make your business plan, there's many things you need to do, like hiring staff and getting staff to work or doing the marketing. When do you start the marketing? When do you start hiring staff? Each one of those details, you need to break it down into very small details. Like in week 1, you should do this. Week 2, you should do this. Week 4, 5, 6, continue to think in detail about this. So our homework tonight is to start thinking about how to make our business plan. Tomorrow in class, I should probably give you quite a lot of time to start making your business plan. I can't expect you to be able to do all of your homework just in the weekends if we only have 3 weeks. So tomorrow I'll give you some time in class to start developing your business plans, but start thinking about it now. Because tomorrow you need to think in detail. One part of your business plan, you're going to have to break it down into many different aspects and show that for your analysis. And of course, your financial analysis and projections. You're going to need to talk about your income statement, your balance sheet, your cash flow statements, your break-even analysis. And Any of the bankers, you want to explain what some of these details are? Like, what is your break-even analysis? Almost every new business, you will start losing money. You're going to start by using your time or energy without getting profit right at the beginning. So exactly how much do you need to do before you can actually start paying for what you have been doing? That break-even analysis. When do you start covering your costs and making a profit? Start thinking about those things, those key ratios and comparisons. Of course,
Professor?
Yes.
I think we are about to finish the class, so maybe
the class finishes at 6 o'clock, right?
At 4, yes. So we have around 8 minutes before wrapping our class. So may we have some time to remind the student about the homework in the slide 154, and we discuss again about the class schedule, because I heard some students want to share and they want to
Sure.
reschedule
So,
the time.
What I was actually talking about before I was interrupted is the idea of what is in a business plan, what is expected in a business plan. So I was going through these details. I was almost finished, and then I was going to show you an actual example. The slides, let me just close some of this so you can see it. The examples from slide 49 to 65, those are a real business plan. You're not expected to have this right away, but the sooner you develop that, the better. This is close to 20 pages, the 20 slides. It is in a lot of detail. You don't need to have as much of this, but if you actually have more and then simplify it, that's best. So the class plan was to show you what a business plan is, have you start thinking about it overnight so that you can start developing it. And then tomorrow when we come in, you guys can be able to start taking more of your time to develop more of your business plan ideas. And then we're going to take a break because you're going to get tired of that. We're going to be doing that a lot. And I'm going to be talking about social things, like how to use big data, how to use the marketing, how to use online learning. What are the basics of the financing I'll be talking about, how you can learn anything related to it. Another big thing that I really like is talking about how the culture is different with you or the customers or your staff. After that, we are going to be going through understanding your culture tomorrow. So if you wanted to understand more about the culture, this slide 134 starts showing 2 different websites or several different websites on here about culture. It helps to go through it in advance. Other than that, we're going to be talking about, again, the big world, how the economies everywhere are changing from lifetime jobs to a gig job. And a gig is usually known by artists and musicians for a short temporary job. But big companies are seeing that is increasingly important. So short, big jobs, short temporary jobs are becoming the new normal. You may want your company, your business to focus on being able to work with people that just have temporary remote jobs anywhere. There's a variety of things we've talked about. Next class, as I said, we will be talking about how you can take one of your ideas and break it down, like that chart, this chart here. Try not only to make your business plan in general, developing all of these details, but start breaking it down in detail. And we'll have many hours to work on this, so don't worry about it too much. With that said, any questions or comments? There were some suggestions from Duong. She was helping, saying that some students might want to change times or details.
Yes. Professor, you want to talk about the homework in the slide 1